So now that we've kind of discussed her offensive and defensive builds, there's one tip that I've seen, and I'm going to echo because I think it is excellent advice for Misaki. So she can be really good at killing.
Yes.
She can be really good at defense. But when you're building your crew, one of the most important things is to build a crew that can be efficient without her.
Yes.
Because Misaki is going to be out there doing whatever Misaki does best this case. She's going to be killing your enemy's key models. She's going to be keeping stuff busy.
Yes.
Because let's face it, whether she kills Killjoy or ties him down for the game, you've won either way.
Yeah, yeah. Because we discussed about that before with Misaki.
Yes, she can... Anyways, so the rest of your crew needs to be built in such a way that it can score your schemes and strategies without her.
Yes.
Like, she's almost the opposite of somebody like, in Ten Thunders, say, McCabe.
Yeah.
Your crew, he makes your crew so much better that they're almost like two sides of the same coin. They need to be something he can make that much better. In Misaki's case, they need to be something that can work independent from her.
Yes.
So, while she's out there killing, they're scoring for you. They're moving stuff around.
Setting up line in the sand, or setting up protect territory, yeah.
Right.
So that's a good transition into what we want to... So models that... See, it's not only models that synergize with her, but models that we would consider you should bring with Misaki.
So, right. And on that note, there are probably a few core models that are going to have some really good synergies with her and what she likes to do. And then usually the rest of those, like most crews, but especially Misaki, you pick up whatever can perform your schemes and strategies.
I think a little bit more heavily so with her.
Well, like, for example, you might not always take Ten Thunder Brothers, you might not always take Tengu, but they're both good choices.
Yes.
Depending what you see. Yeah.
Yeah. That's also one of the key models, I think. Ten Thunder Brothers. I mean, they're just good in general. I mean, defense 7, protect your holdings. Well, defense 7 if they go defensive. That really nice defensive trigger that if with the tomes, you gain defensive, which is just...
Oh, they are extremely solid 5-point minions for everything they do.
Some people even argue that it should be 6 points.
You know what? I'd be happy if they were simply mercenaries. Look, like, for me, you look at performers, and I'm like, why are performers mercenaries? Well, one of the reasons is probably because they're so good that it's like, well, everyone can take them, even though Arcanists are the primary. Everyone else can take 1 or 2. That's almost how I feel like Ten Thunder Brothers. Like, I want a mercenary version.
You want to pay 1 point for it to be able to have, like...
Even if it's just to take a single one for that
the
one aura.
The only model in the game that has protect territory.
Or anything like it. Like, nobody else has anything quite that it just completely negates scheme marker removal.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of the new masters that like to swap them. Zip is both Zip and Parker Burroughs.
Heck, even Titania.
She doesn't like to remove yours, though, to put hers.
Is it? Okay.
Not as much as they do. So they're almost hosed by that if your opponent takes enough. Of course, they are a minion. They will go down if you do enough. But so now there is one thing that is very commonly taken in a lot of Ten Thunder lists, but especially Misaki.
Misaki, which is I think is almost it's a 11 soulstone tax, I think, to bring Misaki. I know okay. This model is Sensei Yu.
Yes. He is the henchman normally of Shenlong.
Yes, of Shenlong.
But he's amazing.
Phenomenal. So one of the major reasons you bring him is he has Airburst. And then you take Wandering River style, which gives him it's not called Airburst. It's very similar to
Mighty Gust.
Mighty Gust. So in essence, this is what you do to make what we called the Misaki cruise missile. What you do is you have Sensei Yu. First thing you do is you do his 0 action, I believe it's called Disciple, which allows him to copy a 0.
Yeah, He needs to cast it, but it's
Yes.
fairly low.
Yes.
Copies a 0 from a master.
So which Misaki, when she has Stalking Placento...
And then so it does include upgrades, so...
Yes. So he will ditch the card for Misaki and give Stalked for her.
So the key there is that it's his 0 action that stalks them.
Yes. And then
So hers is free.
Then afterwards, you do Mighty Gust. No, not Mighty Gust. Hurricane Punch. Airburst. You do Airburst. You do Airburst, pushing Misaki 5 inches forward. But he has a special trigger.
A built-in trigger.
That gives him a focus. So, and this goes into the next ability with...
from the upgrade.
From the upgrade with Mighty Gust, which... It has to be within 6 inches too, which is shorter range.
So he basically has to be parked right up against Misaki.
Yes.
The first one pushes her.
Yes.
Now she's barely in range for the second push.
Yes. And then you push her another 5 inches forward, and you lower the focus condition to give
and that's
target model fast.
The trigger. He lowers the focus to give the model fast or slow. So in the case of a friendly model, you give them fast.
So you push Misaki 10 inches forward, given her fast, and stalked a target for her.
Stalked a target.
So that's what we were talking about. That's her.
So Misaki is 10 inches forward.
Yes.
She has a 10-inch threat range. So from wherever she started, she can hit something to about 20 inches away.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if she really has to, she can use some of that AP to walk into position to get to whatever she needs to charge. Oh, I can't quite see it because it's around a corner.
Mm-hmm.
I'll lose 1 attack to move and attack.
Also, a nifty thing you can do with her, you can ping pong off models. So that's why we're talking about recall training so nice. You can burn...
This is why I think the scarier part almost is, sure, she charges that first thing that Sensei Yu stalked.
Yeah.
And she kills it on the charge. Then she uses her 0 to stalk something new and charge that.
Yes.
She charges in, 2 attacks, kills that. In theory, depending whether or not you think she needs it this turn, she may or may not have burnt recall training even.
Yeah.
And of course that's one option. The other is you charge one thing and manage to get 5 attacks against it.
Yeah.
Her 2 for charging, free AP, fast AP, 0 action attack.
Yes.
Now that is a best case scenario.
20
inches in Malifaux, depending on deployment and how your opponent moves, that's still a pretty long way. Or that is long, but it's not infinite.
Yeah.
Which means, Misaki either has to have been placed herself in the center of the board, which is probably one of the better options, but certain situations that's not. And in theory, your opponent can be like, well, I'm just going to move over in this one place. I'm going to stay out. The key is you just make sure not to have something that's really going to get, or something you need isn't going to die right then.
Yes.
And that's that problem, like I'm sure against the Dead Rider, when you saw him split his forces, you were like, alright, that one with the Dead Rider and the nurse, I can kill that.
Yeah.
That whole group, Misaki can get it.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of those cases. I think you were the first time that meta had seen Misaki, especially Misaki, doing that with Sensei Yu, where she can charge first turn with fast and just really punish.
Yeah. And Misaki's also a really good gotcha master.
Yes.
If you don't know about it, oh god, you will remember
it. In theory,
it.
Sensei Yu is a good gotcha henchman.
Yeah.
Oh, and so, alright, so we've talked about some of what Sensei does often on first Sensei...
You said do.
Do the do, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Now...
So, this is what he'll usually do to Misaki turns 1 and or 2.
Yes.
Like, depending... And that's the other. You don't have to charge turn 1.
Yeah, it's not a requirement.
You might
fell into that trap plenty of times.
Right. I mean, maybe you go and you're like, I'll let you off the hook this time. And Misaki, runs around placing scheme markers and they're like, huh?
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to charge that thing and I could countercharge and, nah, I need Misaki for at least turn 2. Yeah. And now suddenly Misaki's 10 forward and you gust her again, and now you're screwed.
Or you can in theory just do that and then just move Sensei U up and then do it. Or like for me, one of my favorite things is Graves push him up and then do it. Yeah.
So now Sensei U, on his actual card, like he's fucking crazy with like 7 move.
Yeah.
Now he's often has better things to do than walking, like most models.
Yeah.
But with 7 walk,
he can get where he needs to be.
He gets pretty far.
Yeah.
And the best thing is his Mighty Gust gives him so much versatility that you call it an 11-point tax, but you're getting so much out of it.
I know. Just for the Misaki Charisma.
So one of the key things with Mighty Gust is whatever model you hit with it, and remember, this is an attack. So you can target enemies and move them around.
And give them slow. Yeah.
And potentially slow, but I think almost the most important thing is that when you hit somebody with it, you can choose to pick up to 3, I believe it is. Up to 3 scheme, corpse, or scrap markers.
Yep.
And after you push them, you place them within. So you pick them up within 2, and you place them within 2.
I believe it's 3.
Is it 3?
Yes, I believe it's 3.
Okay. So you push that. So often, now if you're against a summoner that uses these resources, corpse or scrap, you can move those around to make it harder for them to use, or to force them more forward, or however. You can put, now in the newest FAQ, a model standing on a marker the same size as his base does not hide that marker. However, if you have a larger model, a Jarigumo or all kinds of other, they are larger and they will block.
Yeah. Well, because we've had those times. This is before the FAQ, one of our previous battle reports, where what I would do is I would airburst. I think it was playing against Ramos.
Well, even then it was Hungering Darkness, and he was big enough he could just sit on them anyway.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Okay, correct.
So that was before this FAQ, but it didn't matter.
I would airburst them all underneath.
You got most of them.
Yeah.
And it definitely made it more difficult, especially with the way that Hungering Darkness can come back.
Yes.
And so, and the other important thing is that since it can be scheme markers, you could target a friendly model that has all these scheme markers near it, pick up the scheme markers, and they're, unlike when you're placing them normally, you can basically stack them on top of each other.
Yeah.
And so you could push something for, say, detonate charges, setup, anything that involves scheme markers near the opponent. Not even necessarily near the opponent. Could just be on their half of the board. This is a way for you to
the ruins. Yeah.
Plant them on your side, push them over to their side.
Also interference too with your opponent's scheme marker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And so things like setup is especially nice because you can wait till the end of the turn, push the model up to the enemy, place the scheme markers around them. Look, end of turn, I get all my points. And so
Sensei is just a very
that's another
model.
Good example of he can score you points without Misaki doing anything.
Yeah.
He can enable Misaki, he can score you points, he can enable your models, he can disable enemy models, giving out slow, pushing them out of position. So he's such a toolbox that as long as you need as long as you need to do 2 of those things, he's worth taking.
Yeah.
Now he is, like we said, he's a 9-point model with a 2-point upgrade, so he's on 11 points before you even consider the possibility of a second upgrade on him.
Yeah. So another recommendation. This is from my personal thing. Yamazuko, I think is another. She's a really good. If you're not being very hyper aggressive with Misaki, let's say you're not doing the turn 1 charge, Yamazuko, she can be pretty quick. She can have. She can move up to 12 inches.
So. She's only walk 4, but she is nimble.
Yes.
So she always is getting a free 4-inch plus anything else she needs to spend.
Yeah. And then she has a 0 action called Braciati, where models within 3, if a charge action is declared against the model within this aura, automatically 4 damage.
Yeah.
Which can be a really pretty good deterrent for
anything.
Yeah.
Charging anything that's protected by that.
Yeah.
Is gonna hurt. And she's on a 40mm base.
Yes.
So she's very good at covering markers like we talked about.
Yeah.
So she's a good target for potentially that.
And she is a very, for show force, a very inexpensive
Yes, a henchman. She could take Smoke and Shadows plus one other upgrade,
Yeah.
and suddenly you've got an easy 2 upgrades.
Yeah. And then she has that really nice a 2 action, where she can, in theory, it's a 6-inch range, but with Nimble, she has a 10-inch threat, where it's...
Does it have to be a master?
It has to be the leader.
Oh, leader. Okay,
it doesn't have to be a master, it has to be the leader.
The leader.
What it does is it's casting 7, which she gets positives. No, she doesn't get positives against, it has to be a master. So it doesn't work against henchman leading crew.
But she will get a positive if it is a master, which is usually the case.
Yeah, when you're not playing like what we play just various different formats. But when you're playing against a normal 50 soulstone game with a master, if you're targeting a master...
So you target the leader, you're getting a positive flip because it's a master, that's a ability on the front of her card.
Yes, it's casting 7. It's called Master Tactician.
Yeah. Casting 7,
and it has no minimum target number, so you just have to cast it.
You just have to beat their willpower.
Yes. So which would happen is, which works fantastic in this new strategy and scheme pool. Gaining grounds. This action may only target an enemy leader. Oh, it is leader, so it doesn't have to be master.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Yeah,
leader.
Right. Okay. Target must discard 2 cards for each of its unrevealed schemes.
Yes.
So if your opponent's...
In the old one, where you scored extra points for revealing them, a lot of people would reveal them anyway.
Because of the
and
extra points.
If Yamaziko was in the enemy force, which you got to see,
Yeah.
a lot of people would just reveal them anyway.
Yeah.
Well, now, you can't reveal any of them until you score them.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Yamaziko is... Suddenly you're like trying desperately to score on turn 2 as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because that hurts.
Casting
Yamaziko being able to force you to discard, is it 2? Okay, so at least it's casting 6, but that's with a positive flip. And is it all flips or
honorable?
Yeah.
Against masters.
Yep. So positive against masters, negative against peons.
Yep. And she's stubborn too.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's
yeah, and that's she's one of the few models that's very hard to lure because of stubborn.
Also, she whenever I play her, she's my smoke grenade master.
Yes.
She's the master of smoke. One of the common upgrades I give her is smoke grenades.
Yeah. And so that we kind of got into this.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons that so Last Blossoms have always had smoke grenades and the ability to appear next to models, but until they got the Jarigumo was the first beefy model that could appear. So now, Misaki throws herself way forward.
Yes.
Now the problem with her misdirection is that a dedicated opponent who has cards to spend can force the misdirection to fail by discarding 2 cards.
Yes.
However, if a Jarigumo uses the Ninja Vanish, pops up next to Misaki, like turn 1 she charges late turn.
Yeah.
You know, so you're probably not getting many attacks. If you are, you don't have the card. You may not have the cards to get rid. However, turn 2, you're like, all right, now she'll be vulnerable. I'll have the cards. If that Jarigumo popped in at the end of turn 1 and appeared next to her, suddenly she can throw it to him.
Yes.
And there is no way to stop that misdirection.
Yep. Short of ignoring triggers, but.
And then we throw on to, well, why are Jarigumo especially so good? Is that after you attack her and fail, and the Jarigumo takes part of that damage, because suddenly, if that Jarigumo is able to kill something, he just goes for your smallest, most defenseless thing. He could be at 1 hit point, and as long as it's an enemy model that he kills, he uses Eat Your Fill, and he's back to full.
Yes.
That's another one why it's like, you don't want to halfway kill a Jarigumo, you want to like
kill it.
You want to be able to finish it off if possible.
Yeah.
Like he's a very good target to weaken with something like a sniper, and then make sure, because he is hard to wound and hard to kill, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So hard to wound means you're probably doing minimum damage. Hard to kill means you're probably needing 1 extra attack. Yeah, he's just rough. So he's a very good misdirection target.
Yeah. That's why, like, I hear a lot of people on the forums talking about like Yamaziko, the See, you're paying 8 soul stones to bring a Jaragumo with you, but bring a Jaragumo for Misaki to misdirect onto.
Well, and that's again, if I do it, if I thought Yamaziko would be useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think you can get use out of her, because again, she places a ski marker on one side of her, she nimbles 4 inches, she places a second scheme marker.
Yeah.
Like, if there's schemes in the pool, for 7 points, she's a good scheme runner. For 1 point, you get smoke grenades, and then for 8 points, you get a Jarigumo. And each one does its own job.
And she's phenomenal for, like I said, show of force. Very inexpensive.
She protects the center.
Yes.
She brings 2 upgrades.
And we're not even talking about her attacks, which it's mid damage 3, 3, 3, 4.
Now, what is the melee?
5.
So she's melee 5, but she has a heavily damaging attack.
Yeah.
So low defense.
But with the sweep trigger too, which gives her 3, which changes the damage spread to 3 blast, 4 blast.
Oh, it adds blasts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, but see, so either it doesn't matter if you get moderate or severe. Well, actually, the severe would be more damage, but you're always going to get that 3 blast.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
so 3, 3, 4. So the big thing you're looking at is the minimum 3 there is pretty sweet.
So
and then the blast.
Very very solid. Another one that it's just with the Misaki crew. It's so hard because you're buying Sensei Yu. And you're bringing Yamaziko.
You're already down so many points.
Yeah.
A lot of times, what you're looking at is how do I fill in those smaller.
Like you were discussing, Casey, is you build for the strategy and scheme pool. Well, Misaki already has a huge tax within herself, but you mentioned you're spending close to 5 soul stones. And we're going with the Stalking Bacento.
Yeah.
Which is the most popular build.
Even the others, at least 4 points. Yeah.
Yeah, at least 4 points. Like
4 to 5 on upgrades.
So 5 soul stones plus 12, or plus 11 you're spending on Sensei Yu. That's just for 1 upgrade too. No extra ones. Mm-hmm. So, and if you bring Yamaziko in, you're spending close to maybe 25 to 30 soul stones. So you have 20 soul stones left to play around with for scheme runners. Maybe try to. Well, actually, if you bring in Jaragumo, like maybe not even more beaters, just to build. Just to add more activations into your crew.
Yeah. But by the time like you're saying, that's 15 points, 15 to 16 points just for Sensei Yu and upgrades.
Yes. You
start throwing in other stuff, and you're already at half your force.
Yeah.
By the time you throw in another 10 soul stones of henchmen and
that's
upgrades.
Going back to Shang, that's why Shang is such a good model. So now, let's go into some other models that would work well with Misaki and your crew. Actually, one thing is, I think Monks of the Low River can play a pretty good part in. They're a little bit on the slow side. They're walk 5, but you can.
That's average.
Yeah.
It's not slow.
It's you're right. See, I'm used to like 6s.
10 Thunders are just fast to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Monks of the Low River, they're 1 point cheaper than a 10 Thunder Brother, and they have some pretty nifty abilities. Being able to heal based on the amount of cast actions.
So Call on Chi.
They're
one of a few models with it. It's amazing. So it's a 0 action, and what's the aura range?
This model has one for each model.
Oh, it's not even an aura.
Within 6. It is an aura. 6.
What? No, where? No. Oh, burst.
Burst.
Within pulse. Pulse. That's the pulse symbol.
Yes.
So within pulse 6, everybody with a cast action, they heal 1 for each model, enemy or friendly. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, most models in this game have it. Like, even a lot of beasts with the leap ability, leap is a casting.
Yeah.
So it has a cast. It's a cast action.
Yeah. He has Over the Pebbles, which is a melee action,
Hell, even Call on Chi itself is a cast action, which means other monks of the Low River or a Dawn Serpent would help each other heal.
Yes. They even became better now with the new upgrade.
Well, and so before the upgrade, their big thing is they had no damaging attack. They still don't.
Yeah.
And their only attack it is casting 7.
No, melee 7.
So a melee 7 with a close 1.
Yeah.
So they're gonna hold you down, but the only thing it can do offensively is remove conditions.
Yes.
From friendly or enemy, right?
Yes. Target removes one condition of the smallest choice.
So you choose a condition and you remove it. Now.
So you can, in theory, even Black Joker it and still.
If it's a friendly model that didn't resist, you can Black Joker and there's no target value.
Yep.
Which means it just happens.
Yeah.
But of course, an enemy resisting, that's still.
Yeah.
So, and they've got several other. I believe they have the same thing. They don't discard for defensive, right?
Yes.
Which
it doesn't discard stand your ground.
So yeah, stand your ground.
It also has Rapid Water's Timeless Voice. When this model succeeds with the disengaging strike, it gains defensive 1 condition.
Okay, you try to run away and they just get more defensive.
Yeah. And then Reading the Wind, the first time this model, so if it takes a focus action,
it gets an extra focus.
Yeah, or for free. So now there's an upgrade you can get. You still need a model with a slot, which is like Sensei U or maybe.
But it is a 0 upgrade.
Yes.
So Sensei U often has a free slot.
Yeah, and what it does, it gives them a casting attempt to give a healing flip.
Yep.
And we were talking, like you were talking about before, Casey, when like you move Shang up there a little bit, and then maybe you can give some more healing flips in. For maybe Misaki's slightly damaged, you want to try to sure her up for maybe another round of combat, for another turn. And these Monks of the Low River, if you bring 2 of them, they make really good scheme runners. They can be really defensive. I mean, sure, they're defense 5, but the ability to ditch. Well, to not ditch a card to go defensive if they have to.
Yeah. And
to hold other models down with melee 7? Like, I mean, let's say, you want to make sure Langston doesn't get away from you. I'm going to throw my Monk of the Low River, and you have to kill that monk.
Yep. 4 hit points means you got to get moderate damage to kill him in 1 blow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the upgrade, like, they became so much better. One of my favorite strategies to do is to bring out Mizuko, bring Sensei U, and then just like try to backline a little bit with like very inexpensive models, just to try to keep the activation control not completely against me. Because Casey, if you run the Misaki build and you run all these elite models, you can go as low as like 5 activations. Which
let's just call it 6.
6 activations.
Because you usually try to aim for something at least 6.
6.
Which, let's just say 7 is normally a pretty good number. Yeah. 6 is kind of low. Yeah, and you come up against something like that's bringing lots of activation control, or can have it, and suddenly, that could be.
And they're going to get those moments where like Misaki is going to.
And there are just certain schemes and strategies where not having activation control really hurts. Like, being able to pull off plant explosives, so much harder if you can't out-activate your enemy.
Yes.
And that's where Misaki crew often relies on gaining the activation control late in the game, once Misaki and crew have killed enough stuff. And that's like, if you have a lot of cheap activations, unless you're somebody like Ramos or Nicoderm who can keep making more. Yeah. Misaki's gonna chop through even, like, maybe she's like, oh, I don't need to go for the big stuff, I'll just kill 2 little things a turn.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll kill.
And I'll catch up.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is to, I think, with Misaki, be flexible in don't always go after their biggest thing. Now, that is often a good target.
Yes.
But a good player is probably gonna put it in a bad position for you to
be in.
If I
went.
Now we've talked about